Hello, ball watchers. Jake and Justin are back with you today on this fine Wednesday to break down a preview on City versus Toronto FC happening on the weekend in Toronto. Shout out Drake, OVO. We are heading to Toronto after a wonderful win at home against Colorado Rapids. And today, with our preview, we're going to break down a little bit more of that game. Had a couple things we wanted to take away, but I mean, it's the day after July 4th, Justin. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the greatest athlete on the face of this earth, Joey Chestnut. And in that theme, it looks like you have a little question for us today.
Yeah, so I think we have a pretty packed episode, so didn't want to take up too much time with a five-a-side. But, Jake, we kind of brought this up with the guys up in Wisconsin this past week, and I kind of want to get your thoughts. I couldn't remember what your number was, and also get, I guess, the listeners' thoughts as well. So Joey just put down 62 hot dogs in 10 minutes, which is well below his typical. I think the over-under was 72.5, but rain delay, all that, whatever. How many hot dogs, including buns, could you put down in 10 minutes?
10 minutes. Oh, man. I feel like I could put down maybe, I wanted to say 10 off the bat, like a hot dog a minute. But, yeah, I'm going to go 10. I think I can do that.
Okay. I like that. I think I talked to some other people about this yesterday. I originally set my own line at 9.5. I think I'm dropping it to 8.5. I don't know. I just like when I think about 8 hot dogs with
it's a lot.
On a plate, I know. But yeah, like 1 a minute doesn't sound too bad because you'll probably put down 3 in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be like, well, but
yeah.
I'd like to get people's thoughts. We'll throw up a story on that one.
Ooh, the dogs. The dogs always get you. But we got the Colorado Rapids on Saturday. We got them good. This was a team that was struggling to stay afloat before they got to us, and we pushed them down a little bit further. A couple things to take away from this game that I was at least thinking about was clean sheets, man. We hadn't kept one in 5 games, and that was when we played Houston at home on June 3rd. So huge shout out to Big Rome Berkey and the back line. Even if it's against weaker opposition, still tough to keep a clean sheet in today's age. And let us not forget, we're still missing, what I think will be our best defensive player in Joachim Nilsson coming back, which hopefully not too far away. I'm thinking maybe 1 to 2 weeks. I know he's training with the team now, and it's been a long time since he played. So I think they'll take their time with him, but this is a Bundesliga caliber guy. He played over 2,000 minutes in the last 2 seasons in the Bundesliga, and we're seeing that quality that a guy like Leuven brings. And if you look at just minutes and the experience they've had in a big league, it's pretty similar. So I'm hoping he has the same impact when he enters the team for us.
Yeah, I saw that you had this in there, and I did a little researching myself because I feel like we always keep saying like, oh, it's coming. I wanted to get more of a specific date, and there's still, the team is keeping that very close, obviously. But Tom Timmerman had an article with Carnell a week ago on June 14th. Or I guess, sorry, that was a little bit further back ago. But on June 14th, we're coming up on 3 weeks now. So he said, then Carnell said 3 to 5 weeks out. And this weekend's game would be 3.5 weeks from that interview. So we're getting into that time where, I know he's in practices doing, non-contact stuff. And Carnell's, he's even, taking the ball from me. I know it's not surprising. It's our coach. But it's good to see that he's actually progressing and getting closer to it. And as we mentioned, Carnell, you put a good quote in here, Jake, for the ruthlessness. I thought, and you said, Carnell said, I thought he should have finished the game off in the first 25 minutes. It should have been 4 or 5-0 at that point. That's the one thing we take away from this game is be a little bit more ruthless because they managed the end of the game and towards the end of the very first half very well. And then started the second half very good and challenged us. I would have liked for that game to be put to bed a little earlier. And I would agree with that. We have such a hot start with a 2-0 dub right at the beginning. You put the third in the back of the net and the wheels are completely off for this team.
Yeah, it's over. Not that it's not been done before, but 3-0, I feel like every kid grew up playing soccer and your coach always told you 2-0 is one of the worst leads in the game. You got to go 3. If you get 3, that's enough distance. You're gonna put that game to bed. And I agree. I think we talked about it on the recap even. We should have put that game to rest. Could have been a much easier ride the rest of the way. Otherwise, my final thing that I was just kind of reflecting on after the Rapids game was recruitment, man. I still think this staff has done an incredible job identifying talent. A guy like Miggy Perez really comes to mind just because he was unearthed out of nowhere, right? In the middle of Missouri, just no one's even paid an eye at this guy, and now he's starting MLS games. But I more so want to focus on a guy like Jared Stroud, who's played just 17 games this year. Hasn't been in every game. I know he's had some yellow card issues, but he's already equaled his best MLS output in a couple of seasons. He had 1 goal and 4 assists in 2021. He's already got 4 and 4 this year. So he's quietly become, I think, one of our most dependable players. And I think one of our most, I call him the minute, but I mean, he just gets in the heads of opponents, and that's hard to put a number to. But otherwise, you have a guy like Aziel Jackson, who you're recruiting very young, and you're waiting on this potential, this raw potential to kind of grow into a first team player. And he's already become a big contributor already in the last 2 games. Same with Adeniran, but a little bit more older than AZ, but still looking for his chance. He was buried in the depth charts in Seattle and playing for their USL affiliate. And he comes here and he's already scored 2 goals and had an assist in the last game. So I just love these. We're doing it on a budget. I feel like we're playing Moneyball, man. I just feel like we're Brad Pitt up in here.
So I apologize if you could hear any of those noises. I was trying to look it up. I have the MLS salary guide up just because why we're going to get into it with Toronto having the highest paid team in the league. All 3 of those guys make under 90K individually. Insane. And just are putting output out there way above Insignia and some of these other guys. And it shows. I mean, we just have we've said it multiple times. It's a designated team. These guys are hungry. Whenever they get their chance, they want to prove why they should be in the starting lineup consistently. And it's a good atmosphere and culture to have.
I absolutely agree. And the stats told the story for the game too. I mean, we dominated everything. We didn't dominate possession, of course, but that doesn't matter for anything substantial. We had the better XG. We had more shots. We didn't have more passes, but that contributes to possession. So no worries there. We had more tackles. So an all around pretty extensive performance and win for the team. So one that we should be pretty excited about, even though it's against a team like Colorado. And believe it or not, we could be heading for worse with Toronto here, but that's a little bit of a teaser before we get there. Tim Parker made the match day team of the week again. MLS power rankings didn't come out this week from the MLS, but they did come out in ESPN. We stuck at 7 week over week, but City isn't the only team. When I say City, I mean the first team is the only team playing that's picking up some points. Justin, tell us about City too.
I'm going to hop right into it. But before we get there, you just reminded me when he said Timmy P. If you guys haven't seen the video they put out there for 4th of July, they asked those guys, they're like, who on the team would you be most scared to give fireworks to? And then who would be manning the grill 4th of July? I would say overwhelmingly scared of fireworks. The team would be scared for Celio to have fireworks, and I'm not surprised there. And then a lot of the guys were like, oh, I'd take the grill. But I think Tim Parker won that one as well, which I'm not surprised. I feel like that man can cook up some dogs.
Absolutely.
But yeah, City 2 update. Sorry, I've dropped the ball on that one the past couple times, but the record and standings, 23 points off of 17 games so far, 4, 7, and 6, win-loss draw, and 8th in the West. I will say, though, so those points don't add up, obviously, when you look at 23 points with 4 wins and 6 draws. That's because in MLS or MLS Next Pro, you go straight to PKs. If you win the PKs, you get an extra point. We have won 5 of those 6 that we have tied. That is well above anybody else in the MLS Next Pro. So that's helping us a lot. And when you look at the playoff structure, it's a little bit different. So the top 7 teams from each conference get in. And we have 11 games left in the regular season. So we're about two-thirds way through. So we'll start getting into what that means for the guys coming up. But the one thing I did want to note, Jake, that I was not aware of, and tell me if you were, their playoff format is called Pick Your Opponent.
No.
And so it's like
no idea.
It's we'll touch on it later down the road, but if you win your conference, you get to pick who you want to play. That actually makes the playoffs, which is weird.
That is weird, but cool. I like it.
Yeah. Them upcoming games versus July, Galaxy 2, who are second to last in the West. Great for us. Earthquakes 2, who are just 2 points ahead of us, so kind of right there with us. And then LAFC 2, who is last in the West. So we're playing 2 of the worst teams in the West to finish out July. Love it. Some notable stats real quick. Johnny Klein still number 1 with 6 goals. Roll Bills. AJ Palazzolo is second most games played. Shout out to him for coming on the pod. Right behind Juan Kuzane, Johnny, and then Michael Wenzel. So the rest of those guys have 17 games played, and Johnny has 16. And then quickly, Jake, on the U.S. Men's National Team Gold Cup, I know it's kind of one of those things we've been kind of teasing in as well. And we'll talk, maybe we'll go a little bit more in depth on the recap of our game on Sunday, because the U.S. will take on Canada on Sunday night. It will be 8 p.m. Central Time. So ultimately, the reason it's Canada is that Canada got second in a group with Guatemala, Canada, Guadalupe, and Cuba. And it was a pretty insane day yesterday. I was laying on the couch, extremely tired from our trip, trying to keep up with these games. Canada beat Cuba 4-2. Great win. Guatemala beat Guadalupe 3-2, but Guatemala had to save a PK in the 88th minute. If that PK would have went in, Guadalupe would have won the group. So it was kind of an insane little afternoon for them. So Guatemala ended up winning the group, and they will face Jamaica, who got second in our group. And then the other teams, Costa Rica, Mexico, and Panama, Qatar, that's on Saturday. So there's your little Gold Cup update.
I'm optimistic going into this. Canada has not looked great. I know they have a rotated team kind of just like we do, but I just feel like our depth is a lot better at this point, even with our BC team. So I'm looking forward to that on Sunday. That'll be a good one.
It'll be good.
But a good little teaser before that one is City taking on Toronto in Toronto. Toronto FC is a team that joined MLS in 2007 as an expansion team. They were the first Canadian-based team in the league, fun fact. And in 2017, they won the domestic treble. So they won the MLS Cup that year, the Supporter Shield as well, and the Canadian Championship, which is kind of like the FA Cup equivalent here. So they were the first and only MLS club to do so. They're the 8-time winners of the Canadian Championship and pretty just kind of all around a pretty winning team. And when you think of history. Now, before we get to the current state, they do have an STL connection that I dug deep for and I found. But Mike Sorber, who was born in Florissant here in St. Louis, attended SLU. He played in Mexico and the U.S. professionally and made over 60 appearances for the U.S. men's national team. He's coached kind of around the place. I mean, he's had assistant coach roles at SLU, U.S. men's national team, Montreal, Philadelphia, LAFC, and most recently with Toronto, but unfortunately kind of tethered himself to Bob Bradley, who was let go on June 26th. So just not that long ago. And following his dismissal, it was also announced that Sorber would not remain with the team as well. So currently out of a job, and still a cool St. Louis connection. It's a bummer, obviously, what's gone on with Toronto. There's a lot of crap going on behind the scenes with them. So shout out to Mike Sorber and the STL connection. It's great to find these almost like every club you go to.
Yeah. What did you Google when you found this guy?
I'm literally just typing in like Toronto FC St. Louis. And then I look at people's hometowns where I can, and I look up coaching staff. So yeah, it's deep.
And a little background on a couple of those names. So Sorber was the assistant coach and technical director of Toronto. And then Bob Bradley, well-known name, U.S. men's national team, former coach. He was the head coach and I believe the GM of Toronto. But with how poorly they've been doing, which we'll touch on right now he's out. And the club's U17 head coach, Terry Dunfeld, was appointed as the interim head coach for these guys right now. So they're digging deep. Like the U17 head coach is your new guy?
Yeah, apparently this guy's up and coming. Like he's a big Canadian coach and he's well respected around Canadian coaching sphere, but we'll see. He was not welcomed very nicely to his first game. But their record right now is sitting at 19 points, which is actually better than I thought considering how bad they've been. But they have 3 wins, 8 losses, 10 draws, and they're second last in the Eastern Conference. 3-2-6 at home, 0-6-4 away. So yet to win a game away, and 18 goals for, 27 against. I don't think that factors in last night. So I'm going to go ahead and tack them on to 31 goals against now, still 18 goals for. And these guys are struggling. I mean, but it's funny because you look at their fixture like history, and they're capable of some decent things. Like they tied Nashville twice. We couldn't do that. They tied Atlanta twice. They did lose to Philadelphia pretty handedly. They did lose twice to New England, but those are 2 good teams. They lost pretty solidly to FC Cincy 3-0. But last night, man, the 4th was not good to Toronto, which is ironic because Orlando, the American team, just came in and just stomped around. 4-0 loss. Toronto generated 0.16 XG on the night. There was red cards. It was ugly for this team. And this is about as bad as it gets, I feel like.
And Jake, it makes sense when you say like, 19 points is a little better than what you thought. It's because they have 10 draws. So if you compare them, I'll give them one little bonus point here. If you compare them to us, they're 3-8-10. We are 11-7-2. So basically take 8 of those. You just take 8 of those ties and flip them to dubs, and they would be the same record as us essentially. But that's the thing is they can't score and they can't close out games. How many would you say they have? 14 goals for? Or sorry, 18 goals for?
18 goes for, 31 against.
That's in 21 games. That's atrocious.
It is bad considering getting into the players to watch, which is ironic because I don't think you get to watch any of these first 2 players. But the players to watch for Toronto typically would be their forwards, their right wing and left winger, Lorenzo Insigne, who's their left winger, who is right now not playing. Apparently he has an injury in quotes, but really he was part of drama with Coach Bob Bradley, and he's linked to a move away to Saudi Arabia, which seems like the theme these days. He's the second highest salary in the MLS at $7.5 million, and Shaqiri is just the only one above him at 8.2, but neither of them play up to that caliber whatsoever. He's a 32-year-old Italian known for his time spent both with Italy's national team and with Napoli. He had 433 games played with Napoli, who's a perennial Champions League contender, 122 goals in those games. He's scoring like 1 in every 4 games, and he was the highest paid player in the league until Shaqiri and Messi. I think the Shaqiri thing is, apparently Insigne was mad that report came out that he was number 2 because he has this other either he has some sort of sponsorship deal where he wanted that to be included in his salary and they wouldn't include it for that publishing report. So he was really, really upset when he saw Shaqiri above him, but it's what it is. That's what you get with your star players, man. This guy is a good player, has never hit the ground running at Toronto, though. He's 3 goals, 2 assists so far this season. He is their best player for sure, but he is also one of the most pivotal figures in this whole drama that surrounds Toronto right now. These guys are fractured. And Bob Bradley, Michael Bradley, his teammate Bernadeschi, it's just an absolute dumpster fire at Toronto right now.
And they're throwing temper tantrums. You already mentioned Bernadeschi. So he's going to be suspended for our game because last night he had a headbutt. Did you see it, though? It seemed a little, but he's been getting in people's faces. The angle that I kept seeing, and I couldn't find another one, was from behind him, and it looks pretty bad. I don't know what it looks like side to side, but he is the 4th highest paid player in the MLS. I was looking at this. So, Jake, his base salary is 3.1, but his guaranteed compensation is double that to get him up to 6.3. So either way, the guy's getting overpaid. 29-year-old Italian, mostly known for his time spent on the Italian men's national team. 6 goals in 39 games played for them. Also played for Juventus and Fiorentina. 270 games played for them. But currently, right now, for them, he only has 3 goals and 2 assists. Leads the team in XG, big chances created, and expected assists. But it's not hard when you're not scoring goals. So what's the other drama? So the drama here with him, sources, is that he has been using a vape pen in practice facility.
Yeah, I did some digging on these guys to see what's going on. So they're both Italian teammates. The rumor is that they're also not great friends, but they come together in their mutual hate for Bob Bradley. And Bernadeschi was one that made comments to the media about his tactics, especially in training, and how they don't really have any tactics. And it got aired out. They had their own meeting with players that they organized, and they had to do a team meeting with Michael Bradley. Everyone worries about not pissing off Michael Bradley because then he'll tell his dad. And then his dad got told what they said, and they had a meeting with him. The beef wasn't squashed. People have their own problems with Insigne because he barely speaks even any English. He doesn't really interact with any of his teammates. Keeps mostly to himself, kind of like your classic like star guy that thinks he's too good for everyone. And then Bernadeschi just sounds like an absolute idiot. The guy is vaping everywhere, apparently a professional 4th highest paid player in the MLS, and he's treating the game like this. So I think both of them are probably gone as soon as Toronto can ship them off, because they were brought in to be their stars, and they have been nothing close to that.
I know it's a vape pen. It's not weed, but I had to say it. The Stephen A. Smith, stay off the weed. Like, come on, dude. If you've been told multiple times not to, and you're getting paid that much, just do your nicotine at home.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, so we had to do some digging here because like that's Toronto's guys. That's if we spent most of our wage bill on 2 players and neither of them are playing. So they have 2 other players that I wanted to put on here just for fun. And Mark Anthony Kaye is a central midfielder for them. He's a 20-year-old Canadian. He's played 133 MLS matches for teams like LAFC, Colorado, and now with Toronto. 2 goals. He's kind of a central midfielder, I'd say kind of box to box. And he puts a lot of good tackles in those. So he almost has a little bit of the Blum in him as well. In fact, most tackles in the MLS right now, which is a fun fact about him. So I would expect to see him and CJ Sapong, who is their striker. He's a MLS journeyman, 34 now, the ripe age of 34, with over 360 MLS games under his belt, and only 1 goal though. They kind of brought him on like right at the early part of the season just because they weren't finding goals or easy to come by. So I expect to see him. Otherwise, this team is ravaged by injuries, by drama, and by the international window with the Gold Cup. They've got Jonathan Osorio, who's a big central midfielder for them, gone. Sean Johnson, who's their goalkeeper, gone with the U.S. And Michael Bradley, who's hurt as well. So, I mean, look at the numbers, Justin. Go look at like the lineup from last night. Every number was like above 40. So they're playing the kids. They're playing the guys that can literally put on cleats and play because they're just trying to stay above water at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're struggling. And we, as we kind of get into that with the style with Terry Dunfield, we already said that he's a U17 coach that is now progressed up to the main coach. And so looking at their style and formation, and take this, like we said, with a grain of salt, because we're going to have a brand new team, a brand new coach out there this weekend. But 4-3-3 or a version of it with a 4-2-3-1. Once Bradley had Insigne and Bernadeschi on his hands, he was kind of just bringing them wide and letting them go on the touchline and playing kind of like give the ball to the Italians and give it out wide and let them kind of bring it in. But now they don't have that. And that used to be what did well for Bradley when he was at LAFC with his 4-3-3. But I don't really know what to expect this weekend.
No, I think they'll try to possess best they can. I mean, they're just a team without a big identity right now. They're going to try to attack mostly down the right from what I've seen. They'll shoot from distance. But for a team that generates only 0.16 in XG and not really overanalyzing their game, it'll be as sloppy as it can get for them. They just want to basically make this a brute match and see who comes out on top. So I'm hoping we have the prowess to get around them. It's just tough times for them. And I think we're a little bit fortunate to play them at this time because it's probably they're hitting the lowest of lows, to be totally honest at this point. That 4-0 thrashing last night after all the drama that's going on around them, even with the new manager bounce, hoping they could try to get scrounged together a win for the new guy. It's just not happening. And they've been so awful since even last September with only 3 wins, 6 fewer than any other team in that time. Like I said, their culture is gone. Their last 5, 1 draw, 4 losses. They're currently number 26 in the power rankings, but there's probably some pundits that would say that they might be the worst team in the MLS right now.
Oh, I think they are. And what's really, and the more we talk about this, it makes me want to hammer it again because we loved talking about Colorado and looking at it. They are also the 5th most passes in the MLS, which is something that we love for other teams to have, as we are currently last in the MLS with passing. So, like I said, I mean, the lower possession we have, the better. And with these guys, with how depleted they are, I'm getting pretty excited.
I am too. It's a team that offensively, like I said, even with those guys playing some of the games this season, have not been doing well. They're second last in goals per game with 0.86, only 1.14 XG. So really they're doing as well as they should be at this point. They're marginally better at home, which most teams are. They score about a quarter of their goals right before and after halftime. The other 17 or so percent intervals, probably in the latter part of the second half. It's a team that can score from long, score from distance, like Insigne can put in beautiful curlers when he's playing. I just don't think he's going to be playing. This is a team that's going to try to put shots on target and just do whatever they can to force Berkey into saves, force our defense. I could just see a super sloppy sit back counterattacking game from Toronto, even though that's not their game by trade.
It would. I guess I could see that, especially if you have some of these young guys. But I could also see some of these young guys trying to establish a name for themselves and take people on one-on-one. And I would love to see that because I am not worried with our back line and Blum and everybody looking at that. But as we kind of touch into their defense, their XGA of 1.48 is bottom half of the MLS, and 1.29 goals against is 12th best in the MLS, which is like pretty much almost dead middle, maybe a little bit higher. Like you said, home form, they're a little better, 1.38 XGA, but that's still 5th worst. And then also 22% of their goals against come between the 81st and 90th, and 19 from the 51st to the 60th, and 61st to the 70th. So looking at that leans a little bit towards your bet. I didn't look at your bets yet, but are you kind of liking that second half again?
We'll see. I've been burned now on before, so I may not be going back to the well just yet. But this is a team that error prone as well. Number 2 in errors leading to an opponent's shot with 8. They are good at sitting back on defense. They block a ton of shots. They do a ton of clearances. Goalkeeping isn't great for them. They only have a 67.1 save percent, which is tied for the 6th worst. And if you think about post-shot XG minus goals against, we talked about last week, which basically is just a measure of how well your goalie is doing at shot stopping. Once you quantify the opportunity of the shot on goal, Berkey is still best at plus 6.7. They're at minus 3.0. So not doing well on the goalkeeping side either. There's just not much upside. If you're looking for something to hang your hat on for Toronto, I guess the only thing I can think about is that I don't know if it can get much worse, these guys.
No, definitely not. I was going to say, and it's not like they have like cold weather up there right now. I'm looking at it right now. It's mid 80s. So, I mean, it'd be nice for our guys to get a little cool off up there. But all right, so we talked enough about these guys. We know that they're not great. They have trouble in the locker room. They're not showing it up on the field. They're playing a lot of young guys. They have just a brand new coach. So keys to the game for us in general, before we get into anything, bring that same energy that we had from the San Jose dub on the road. And I think just coming off this Colorado dub, we need to keep rolling with that. And also, you mentioned this, and I love it. Start early against a leggy Toronto team who just played midweek. And also, but we do need to be patient to start to make sure we don't let up that first goal. But I love Bradley Carnell's comment. Let's try to see if we can kind of progress that into this game, get the first goal, and then just be ruthless. Do not feel bad for these guys. Let them have their own problems. I think if we get an early goal or two, we're going to see those locker room problems hit the field very quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, just because this team is young doesn't mean they're not going to come out hungry. I mean, if I'm one of those guys, this is my first chance at getting first team minutes. Like, this is a huge shot at my dream. So don't take them lightly, even though they are playing like this. Treat yourselves like we should be treated. Like, we are a top 10 XG team away on the road. We have 1.37 per 90, which is great. So play with that confidence. I want Adeniran to continue to give us that hybrid kind of forward play where he can hold up, be a target man, but also get in behind and just use his lightning speed. I want to press their young defense and force more errors out of them. We know that they're error prone, obviously, with number 2 in errors leading to opponent shots. But pick your moments too. Like, press their defense, but be patient. Like I said, it's a long game. Chances are they won't have the legs to go full 90 with, all out. So be patient, pick your moments, use our set pieces. We saw the corner goal last game, man. Tim Parker is obviously super dangerous on those. So I want to see maybe another goal there. And I really think we could use Berkey too in this game. Maybe this could be the first Berkey assist game. I'm thinking a little volley on a long ball to Adeniran.
Can we bet on that?
No, but that'd be awesome.
We might be able to. But also, you already mentioned Tim Parker moving into the defense. I think early, and you have in here, early in physical tackles on the big stars. We might not see them, but early in physical tackles on anybody on the field. Just show them, like, we are a team. We are not messing around. We're here. We're going to be ruthless, and we're coming in hot. It's a big night for our defense as well. You already need to improve on our 8th worst XGA away of 1.66. We cannot be giving that up. I know we have a great home base with all of our fans, but if we can kind of just level and just stay 500 on the road and continue to absolutely own it at home, there's no reason why we can't be flying up the board. I mean, staying at the top of the board, but flying up the entire MLS board and try to catch up with Cincy. So, and then also you'll see, you already mentioned as well, so Berkey having his distributing, but also shot stopping. If they do play these guys, or if they do get some long shots off, I'm assuming these young guys are not going to try to just dribble through us. They're probably going to try to take their chances and be the superstar. So he's going to be on his toes as well.
I would agree. Let's get into the lineup here, Justin. So if we're just going based off of last game, obviously no midweek game for us. I don't know of any injuries that could change before Saturday. I feel like there's always like one that pops up that's usually kind of minor or questionable, but I don't know if I see Carnell going a different direction this game. I think he might line up with the same exact 11 that just took the field against Colorado, and that would be Berkey, Hebert, Yarrow, Parker, Watts in your back, and then Blum, Indy, Stroud as kind of like your base midfield 3, with probably Stroud and Vasilev running a lot more of the wings, and then Aziel Jackson at the tip of the midfield, and then Nico and Adeniran. Nico didn't have his best game last game. Obviously, he missed a couple big chances that we don't want to see that turn into a recurring theme. But this is a game that hopefully he can get back on the board and restore that confidence, because I'm sure that hurt him to miss a couple of those. So I honestly see this going back to the same 11.
Yeah, I would as well. I would like to see Celio get in there and maybe switch him out with AZ. But I agree. I don't know if we're going to switch up the back line. I think Akil is starting to kind of cement himself that could be making that right back. I wouldn't be surprised he puts Nowinski back in there. But I do like seeing Yarrow get minutes on this. Obviously, with Nielsen's going to be coming back soon. Don't know where Bartlett's going to go, or hopefully Johnny can sneak back on the left as well. But I would agree. I think with the way that we played, there was nothing against the guys that started. We just couldn't put the nail in the coffin. But it was a great squad and a great outcome anyway. So let's keep it.
The only thing to keep in mind there is, like, that's what I'm playing, assuming like that's our full strength game. We also have a midweek game next week. So I could see maybe some proactive rotation, because that's against LAFC, and LAFC is also kind of floundering right now, of course. But I don't know. I think you'd be ruthless with this team. Ruthless is the word of the day. I think you go in and you just cement 3 points. Like, any game we can keep picking up 3 points in, like, give it to me. We'll keep aggregating those. Absolutely.
Completely agree. So getting a prediction, Shake, what do you got?
I've got a...
How ruthless are you going to be?
I'm going 3-1. I think we're going to the board early again in this game. The pundits and the books are putting these odds a little bit closer than I would have thought, to be totally honest, considering all the drama we just talked about. But I am still predicting a 3-1 dub. I think it'll be comfortable. There'll be some nervy moments just because I really hope our guys don't take it lightly. But, going away is never easy. You wonder if the fan base rallies around Toronto and see if they can pull something magical out here. But, man, I anything less than a win, I think, is a miss here against a team that's just languishing.
No, I completely agree. Even though it's on the road, I'm not worried about it. I'm only going 2-1 just because we create a lot of chances, but we have yet to be clinical in front of net and actually finish them. So if I were to predict, I would say we get a late first half goal, probably around like the 40th. I'm going to give us another one in like the 60th, but then I'm going to give us a leaky defense and have some of these young guys with some fresh legs come on for them and put one away in like the 80th, and we're going to sweat.
Yep, I'm with you. My Grahammer for the day then is kind of on the same note of my prediction, and I'm going to go City money line parlayed with the over 1.5 in the game. I'm not going City 1.5. I'm going game total over 1.5, and that's sitting at plus 220 right now. So a big plus money play for City just to get the win and score total in the game 2 goals. So I'm expecting some goals from City here, and obviously a dub, and plus 220 is some serious value.
I like that. I mean, it's easy and I'll touch on all that real quick. City money line is plus 155, like you said, and Toronto's plus 150. So a draw plus 245. I think those lines are rude. The over 2.5 is minus 140. The under plus 110. Both teams score minus 175. My hammer as of right now is I'm going to go City draw no bet with a minus 110 just because the double chance is minus 210. That's a little steep. I'll probably throw a little bit on there, but I'll probably absolutely hammer the draw no bet. I don't see us coming out here with an L, so hopefully we can just get the money line there. And then City over 1.5 goals plus 120. I'm going to continue to ride that, Jake. I got to start adding stats into here, and like when we don't do that,
yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know.
I'm with you. Well, anything else, Justin, on this matchup before we let everyone go for the day? Because I mean, this one's just kind of it is what it is at the face. It's a tough time for this Toronto team who's been historically great, not doing well right now against a team that's new to the league, but obviously cementing our place here. So I really feel like it's kind of just downright simple. Just go in there, play your game, and you should come out with all 3.
Right. I think the one thing that we need to focus on, or hopefully the team is focusing on, is getting amped up for this game. It's like you got to go all the way to Toronto. You're playing one game against a team that's awful. And so just making sure that we stay focused and take care of business. I think that's the biggest thing. We can't drop points here. I think, and I would even say a tie is dropping points in my opinion. Yep. So this game is on at 6:30 p.m. Everybody enjoy it. I'll be at the pitch. Jake is out of town, but you can find me there.
Love it. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Roll City. And let's take this show up at Toronto and grab another 3 points and put it in the bag for this season, dude. This has been a hell of a start to the second half, and I hope it just keeps rolling.